Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Creator Circle. I'm your host, Lucy, and today we are with our first guest, as you can see. Um, and so I'm going to take a minute just to introduce who we're talking to today. This is Christian, and he is a really dedicated and passionate health and fitness professional who is just really driven to help clients achieve their goals. And you're probably wondering, what does he create? Good question. He creates lifestyles lifestyles based on health and fitness, of course. And so this is Christian. And would you like to say anything else about yourself? Anything that you'd like to add?
No, but thank you for having me as your first guest.
Yeah,
It makes me feel very honored, and I'm happy to be here with you.
great. Awesome. So, without further ado, then we'll jump in. I do have some questions prepared, but I kind of want the conversation to go with the flow. So, we might get to all of them, we might not. But to start, let's see. Before fitness, you were always a hard worker and you had a lot of big positive energy. So, where do you think that you get that from and how do you sustain it? And particularly in fitness, and then also when your past roles in service, those are really very require a lot of energy. And so, how do you maintain your positive outlook and things like that on long days and long shifts?
Oof, that's a good question. It's hard to sit here and kind of think about how I maintain it because it's just me. I'm not really much of a morning person, so I'm not like huge. Like I don't wake up with like a bunch of energy here and there. It takes me a couple. Like, it takes me an hour, to fully wake up. But I feel like once I get in the groove of what I'm doing throughout the day, it kind of just builds up throughout the day. So I don't really slow down. I just want to get the day over with, get back home. And it also helps that I enjoy what I do. I seem to, like you said, have this like balance of energy that people get from me, and I think that I like to keep that going throughout the day because people kind of expect it from me at this point. So if I were to come into work and not have that loads of energy and just like that good kind of positivity, people would notice it, and I think it would kind of bounce off their day too. So I kind of like to think about it doesn't just it's not just my day that I'm worrying about. My bad day could make another person's day bad and affect this person's day. Not really bad, but just affect it in other aspects of their day. So I try to keep it going because if not, it'll affect other people too. And like I
Right.
said, it's not really difficult for me. It just getting up, going and starting the day is the hardest part for me. But once I get to work, it's like, it's it. I'll knock it out.
Yeah. So I think other people definitely feed off your energy. We don't work together anymore, but we did work together in the past. And, um,
Yeah.
late nights and long shifts, but people always looked forward to Christian coming in. He would always put a smile on everybody's face. So I definitely think that a lot of people feed off the energy that you put out.
I try. Thank you.
Yeah. And so before getting into what you're doing now, you were still in fitness, but you were in more on the sales side.
Yes.
And so how did you approach slow days or when you just weren't hitting your numbers and the hours seemed like days and it just kind of dwelled on? How do you find motivation and inspiration? How do you keep going in those particularly challenging moments?
Um, so there's hard days for everybody, no matter what job you do. You're always
Hmm.
gonna have hard days. I think the hardest thing for me when I was doing sales, was like the competition, right? Because to make money in sales, you have to sell, obviously. So it gets a little harder when you're trying to compete against other clubs or other locations, or who can get the most memberships, or whose gym is better than whose gym. And like I said, when you have those rough days where I get to work, most days, there's days that I would have a bunch of memberships. There's days that I would have one to none. And those days were a little harder. But I guess my outlook on it is at least trying to make the day better and trying to get something out of the day. So not just sitting there and kind of, man, today sucks. Nobody walked through the door, or today sucks. Like I'm not gonna make any money, or today's this, is that. The good thing about what I used to do is that we used to do a lot of marketing. Most days I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't really like having to go out there and having to do all this. But on the days that it was really, really slow, I didn't really have any other choice but to go and stand outside of an HEB and just talk to people, or go stand outside of a barbershop and just talk, just say, hey, how's your day going? You go to the gym, and just getting a conversation started. So I guess it didn't feel as rough or as slow because I could do other things to, you know,
To keep busy.
product my day. Yeah, yeah, make my day a little bit more productive. And I got to meet more people. And I mean, those people didn't sign up that day, most of them, but they were in my books. And if I kept reaching out to them, they could make my next slow day not as slow. So
Yeah,
it's kind of
so
just sprinkling something to, be able to get later.
yeah, momentum.
Yeah,
And I think that I want to talk to a point that you mentioned, which was having conversations with people.
yeah, yeah,
That actually kind of bleeds into my next question, which was that I think you really learned how to talk in this sales role and getting to know people on a deeper
yeah.
level. But even before that, you're very personable and people felt comfortable just talking to you and approaching you. So you're
Hmm.
very approachable
Hmm.
and just like a warm spirit that
Yeah,
people feel comfortable around. But to your point, you have to have conversations with these people and make them feel comfortable before they're willing to talk to you about their
oh
health
yeah.
and fitness. And so where do you think that's just part of your personality naturally? Did you learn it from someone growing up? Did you have a role model? Or where do you think that you get that sort of personable, comfortable spirit that you just imbue in your day-to-day life?
I don't know. I've never thought about it like that, just because it is like a big personality trait. So I've never really thought like, oh, where did I get this? Like I like to talk. I used to
Right.
get, and I've gotten in trouble for it my whole life, and then I started using it to my advantage. I didn't really know how to use it when I was in school. I would just talk and talk and talk and ask questions that were already answered, and just all this stuff. And as I got older, I kind of learned how to use that. And yeah, I mean, on my previous job, they did give us a lot of coaching on how to break, the ice with people, because no matter how personable you are, no matter how much I can talk to people, people are always going to put themselves in a box when it comes to how they look, how they feel about how they look, what they eat, their nutrition, all that stuff. It's things that are very, they cause a lot of insecurity, or they cause a lot of just like vulnerability. And it's hard to get people to talk about it. So
Have
you do, yeah,
conversations.
exactly. So you do have to find ways to get to know them before just throwing in. So what do you do? What do you eat? You kind of want to get to know how their day is going. Throw in a little bit about what car they're driving, or what you see there. It's a cool little pair of sneakers, or whatever stuff like
Right.
that. But where I got it from, I don't know. I would say me. If I had to think about someone, I probably my entire family. They like to talk a lot too, and they're very personable and very friendly people.
Well, and you just grew up in a large environment with
Yeah,
people because your family is large and there was always people coming over for holidays and things
exactly.
like that. So you kind of had to
Yeah.
get to learn how to talk
If
to
I had to say
people.
one person specific, it'd be my grandfather. Though my grandpa, he talks to anybody and everybody. He used to be a crossing guard, and every single person at my school or where everyone knew about him. He'd be sitting there like as a crossing guard trying to sell an iPhone, or trying to sell this, trying to sell that. Just so I kind of, well, going with him everywhere. I've kind of seen how he can talk to anybody and try to even like make an uncomfortable situation. He makes it comfortable, and it's like one of those things where it's like, did you just really say that? But then he creates these relationships with people. So yeah, I'd probably say him. I get it a lot from him. He's a really personable guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so were you ever nervous to go up to a completely random stranger
Oh yeah.
and make a conversation?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was probably one of the hardest parts about doing sales. You're going and you hear all these things about how do you say that word?
Soliciting?
Soliciting. Sorry, I always struggle with that word, soliciting, and people don't really like it. So it's one of those things where you're like, if I knock on this person's like door, they might reject me. Like I'm gonna
Hmm.
feel really dumb walking out here.
Hmm.
But I kind of got to the point where it's like, if I feel dumb a certain amount of times, there's a certain amount of those times that I'm gonna feel good.
Right.
Because I'm gonna get no a lot, but a certain of those no's will be a yes. So it's just not feeling the nose as not being as sensitive to the nose, and just taking it as a way of like, okay, what did I do wrong? What didn't I ask this time that I can ask next time? That might work.
Right. And I
Um,
think that that's just a point of life. Outside of sales, in just the world in
yeah,
general, you're not always going to get a yes for everything. And
yeah,
it can be a yes in the figurative sense, just like a positive reaction from
mhm,
someone. And kind of like what you were saying, you just have to learn from each experience and go about it with a positive attitude and just think, even if this one is a no, the next one,
yeah,
I've learned something different that might put me in a better position to get a yes.
yeah,
And so I think that's just something important to go about life
yeah. Yeah,
knowing and understanding.
it's kind of like a way of building yourself up to not give up so easily.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because people just, I mean, there's a lot of people that did what I did that couldn't do it for as long. because they couldn't handle the no's.
Right. It's not a reflection of you,
No, it's just what were you gonna say?
just that, people have bad days. Sometimes you catch people on wrong days and
Yeah,
they're not interested in talking to you and they're going to treat you poorly, even though, again, you're being nice, you're being personable, you're trying to start a conversation with
yeah,
them. You can't take it to heart.
yeah, yeah. We gotta keep trying.
Right. Yeah. I think that's really important. Just general life lesson.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
So, stepping back a little bit, obviously, we've talked a lot about your sales position and now you're moving into management and personal training, which is different, but in the same field.
hmm
Where did fitness start for you? Obviously, you were in sales, but before that, when did you start to feel inspired and impassioned by fitness? And then when did it become something that you wanted to pursue as a career or a potential, job opportunity?
Um, I mean, I've always been very active. Like even like when I was in high school, so forth, so forth. I played soccer for a bit, so I've always been into sports, right? I've always liked that kind of environment, being around other people that like to be healthy. But I've always had an idea in my head of like an athlete's way of working out because that's all I ever did. I mean, that's the only thing I was ever really introduced to in school. There's not like a weightlifting class or anything like that, so I was only very limited to sports, which is not, I love sports and I love that kind of training, but I was never just 100% focused on the gym or strength training and things like that. So when I was introduced to my other job, yes, it began with sales, and I loved the sales part about it. But I kind of got to a point where I started meeting a lot of other mentors, and trainers, and a lot of people that I work with that kind of really changed my life. A lot of coworkers of mine that are amazing, amazing people when it comes to the gym, athletes, like managers, just everything. So I think when I was introduced to that job, I kind of had to mix in my love for fitness, but also start to understand it because I wanted to be good at what I was selling. So once I started understanding it and getting into it more, I started working out with so many different trainers, so many different coaches, so many different ideas and perspectives on training, because there's just so many. There's not like
Hmm.
a one fundamental way of working out. There's just so
Yeah.
many different ways. I think that's what I love because every single person that I've met throughout my experience of working out in this career has been very different. And I've learned from all of them. Um, and I think as I was learning to understand fitness, I started working out with them. I started actually physically doing it. And I just fell in love with it. I can't really remember a day like that. I just knew I couldn't stop doing it. And it became something that I loved. I started seeing people that had so many injuries, so many different experiences, not too good experiences in their lives. And when they started working out, it really changed that for them. And I saw the happiness in them, and I saw that what I was doing wasn't only making me happy, wasn't only taking care of bills, but it was also making other people happy, and changing their lives. And so it felt like a good thing. It
Right.
felt like a
Yeah.
really really good thing. I had a member of mine at when I used to work for LA Fitness, and she had came into us not knowing how to she had been in a really bad car accident, couldn't lift her hand above her arm. I mean her she couldn't lift her hand above her shoulder. And when she started training with us at our gym, she started working with one of my trainers, and in a span of about 5 to 6 months, she was able to start lifting a 15-pound over her shoulder, over her head. And that seeing that was probably one of my favorite days ever working in the gym, because it was just it was just good.
Yeah.
It was progress, and it felt like what I was doing was right. And it felt like I changed somebody. So I think that was my day that I was like, I'm gonna stick to working here. Like this
Right.
is what I want to do the rest of my life. Um, so that would probably be it for me. Like if there was a one core memory that really changed it, was seeing that day.
Yeah. So, because, like you said, you were an athlete your whole life, you've always been around sports. And a lot of people are, and they just become bigger and bigger sports fans when they grow up, but they don't necessarily pursue that as a career.
Yeah,
But it was sort of once you got into the role and you started to see the impact that you can have on people and you felt the fulfilling part of it, that's like, I'm not only making myself happy, but other people.
yeah.
That's when it really
Stick,
clicked.
clicked. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Cool. And so today, I know obviously having those kind of client testimonials where they are really changing their lives and something that they could have never done before they're doing now, those are, I'm sure they happen a lot, but they're sort of big impactful moments. But on a day-to-day basis, what impassions you, what drives you to do a good job and show up and put in a 110% effort,
Yeah.
what what keeps that going on a day-to-day basis?
I think that for me kind of changes a lot. Just depends on what I'm doing, what environment I'm in at a time. Like I feel like I had that drive 100% at my previous job, but it's kind of like how life kind of makes you. I believe that life in somehow or some way you start feeling like I can do more, or I can do different, or I can do something else, and your tank kind of runs out a little bit, and you kind of get that like not runs out, but you get the when your gas tank starts flashing a little bit, like you need to put gas, like that kind of feeling. And I kind of started having that a little bit towards the end of my last job, and I started my new one. And at this one, I work amongst a lot of amazing people. Not that I didn't in my previous, but I work. I have five bosses, and all five of them are pretty badass. Excuse my language, but it's hard for me to complain when I see them working insanely for their company, and it drives me to want to keep up with them and to help them because when you feel that kind of sense of value and you feel like the people that you're working for are working the same or more than what you're doing.
Yeah.
I think it keeps me like, okay, I gotta keep up. It makes me want to stay keep up with them,
Mhm.
and not lose that like momentum. So
Mhm.
as soon as I think that's what kind of like what I was touching about before. Like as soon as I get to work, it's like I'm there, I'm focused, and sometimes it blows my mind because I get there at about 8 a.m. and these people are in there since like 5:30, and they don't look like they have been.
Right.
They don't look tired, they don't look anything. So it makes me like kind of wake up and like, hey, like you gotta do this. You have
Mhm.
no reason to complain. So I guess for me, it's the people around me. They really drive me. If I'm in an environment where I don't feel like everyone else is driven as much as I am, it kind of affects me a little bit. So I really need to be in a place where everybody's working, everyone is being productive, everyone is wanting to, essentially have the same goal. And that really drives me. That really keeps me going. Not only like members or seeing clients happy, it's my environment and the
Right.
people around me that really helps me. If I see someone doing better than me, I'm gonna want to do better as well.
Mhm.
And so it's that's I think that's like a thing that a lot of people haven't really realized in their lives. It doesn't always have to be a competition, right? If the next person is doing better than you, yes, use that as your motivation and your drive to okay, I got to do better too. Not in a way of like let me do better to beat them, more
Mhm.
so let me do better for myself.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's something that really drives me and really helps me. So working where I am and working with people like as amazing as like I am, it really helps me, get better and try to keep up with them, which in the future will only bring me more success. So I think that's really what I would say what that drives me most.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, frustrating when you work in a place where it seems like the higher ups or the bosses, whatever it may be, aren't working as hard. Obviously, they've put in the work over the years to get to where they are, but then, what makes you want to work as hard as them if they're not, they've put, the brakes on. So I think being surrounded by those people and having like mentors and things like that to look up to is definitely really impactful and a positive
Yeah,
work environment
yeah,
to grow in.
definitely. Yeah, I agree.
And so, talking about clients, what is your favorite part about taking people on this fitness journey? Obviously, like the end goal and seeing them do these amazing things is really fulfilling. But what's your favorite part? Is it getting to know somebody and then watching them grow in their self confidence? Or is like, what is that for you?
Yeah, exactly. You just literally said it. I like to meet people, and I've been very lucky and blessed that I've had a lot of connections that I've built along the years. But I like to get to know people, a lot, and it's nice starting like, it's kind of like working out is also a therapy session for your
Yeah.
clients, so
Hmm.
they come in and yeah, they expect a workout, but they also expect to be able to tell you about their day,
Hmm.
their week, you're their outlet essentially. So
Hmm.
you're there to, yes, watch them and make sure they're working out the right way, they're not hurting themselves, that they're progressing based on whatever their goals are, but you're also there to talk to them and listen to them. One of my
To be
bosses,
a human,
yeah, one of my
not like a
bosses told me
robot.
that's the main thing about being like a trainer, it's the
Yeah.
person that the personable, being able to not just be some robotic person just standing there like, okay, one set, or one more set, or one, two, and just counting their reps for them.
Right.
It's really doing that, but also, so what did you do today? How was your weekend? How are your kids? Just
Yeah.
these questions that you kind of and you build these connections with these people. They
Well, and
become
then
more than just your
also,
clients
yeah, exactly. But it's also, if you have that deeper connection with them, you're able to motivate them on another level as
because you know
opposed to,
them. You know what
right. Yeah.
motivates them. It's different when someone trusts you. They become more vulnerable,
Right.
and people don't really. You think you know people until you don't, and it's there's a lot inside of people that they don't open up to you about unless they really really trust you,
Right.
and when you're working for somebody like that, when your whole job is to get them better and health, you need to know a lot of things, and if they don't trust you, you will not know those things.
Right.
So I guess yeah, for me the nicest part about it is just getting to know so many more people. Like I have clients that text me, during the weekend, they text me
Yeah.
their food. I mean, you see it all the time. Like they text me what they're eating, like, what do you think about this? Or just all these different things. Like, look, I didn't eat this today, and like they just that happiness, right? Or on Memorial Day, I had some people from my group class text me like, "Hey, we still got a workout in today," and that feels really nice. Waking up and like they felt like they had to show me that they showed up,
Hmm.
and that accountability was there. Either even though I wasn't,
Right.
and that makes me feel good. It makes me feel like okay, so now they have this sort of discipline, and they think about me when they wake up and they just got this workout in.
Right.
Not that that's like, oh, like, but it helps. It does make me feel good that they're doing that for themselves at the end of the day.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that's probably my favorite part, like seeing them progress, and just become their own person, their own
Yeah.
disciplined person. Is probably my favorite part.
Well, and I think that goes back to what I was saying in the introduction, that you create lifestyles.
Hmm.
These people come in and they're living life a certain way, and maybe it's without fitness or on a lesser scale, or they're eating poorly or whatever. And now you have people texting you on their day off on a holiday weekend when other people are, partying, drinking, whatever. And they're like, we worked out today.
Yeah,
You're making that impact on their day to day life where they're literally changing what they're doing.
yeah,
And so that's a lifestyle.
yeah,
And that's really cool that you get to impact them on that level.
yeah. Thank you, guys. It's fun.
Yeah. And so, what are your favorite kind of people to train? And I want to start this by saying, like,
That's very.
no,
What are
no,
your favorite? Hey, what is your favorite kind of person?
no, no, I don't mean like girl, boy, whatever.
Hairstyle. Yeah.
I mean, do you like to see people without experience and watch them like grow and develop in the gym? Or do you like to see people who have some, background in fitness and they just really want that push of a trainer to help keep them motivated? Like, who is the most engaging and the biggest opportunity for you to help?
Honestly, I don't think I can answer that question. I think it's everybody. I've never had someone that I've worked with that I haven't enjoyed working
Well,
with.
and I don't want to mean that you don't enjoy working
No, no,
with
no,
these
I
people.
get the question. I'm trying to like.
Like, to me, as somebody, I don't train other people, obviously, but I feel like maybe it would be, as an outside perspective, that it would feel really good to see somebody the first time they ever step into a gym and just watch them along their fitness journey.
Yeah.
And
Okay. So yeah, I get what you're saying. So yes, that is really fun always. When someone and I guess working at my other job, I was really used to that because the majority of people that would walk in, excuse me, had never been in the gym before,
mhm,
and my whole job was to sell it to them.
yeah,
And that was really fun. I enjoyed it because they have no clue what these like what machines are or what is this, what is that. So it's kind of cute in a way. It's kind of
mhm,
like okay, well, I'm going to show you some things, and it's fun. You do have to be a lot more. You have to really invest a lot more time because you want them to and fall in love with it. And I guess that's something that I do enjoy. It's a little bit of a challenge because people will go to the gym and then they'll sign up for a membership or anything like that, and you won't see them again for a year. And that's the part that you want to avoid. When someone wakes up, when they go into the gym, and they just woke up one morning, like, okay, I'm gonna go check out this gym. That's like when they're the most excited. When they
mhm,
sign up, when they have their membership card, that's like, okay, like they're ready. They have all these ideas. Okay, I'm gonna go into the store. I'm gonna buy all this protein. I'm gonna do all this. I'm gonna do all that. I'm gonna start brand new. And then the next day, they wake up, they're having one of those days, they don't want to go to the gym. The next day, it's the same thing. And then
mhm,
a day turns to a week turns to a month, so they never go back. So it's really, those are the people that you really want to like make that first day everything. Like,
impactful.
yeah, you want to make it everything. You want to show them, you want to demonstrate, you want to show them what a workout and doing that consistently will change, throughout their life. So you really have like max 3 days from that sign up day to really make them like fall in love with it the way that
See
you
the
do.
value.
Yeah,
Yeah.
see it in your eyes, see the value of the place. Yeah, and those are the hard ones. As to, yeah, people that are on maintenance and they work out every day and they come in and show them the gym, like, all right, cool, those people will come. There's certain people that will already motivate themselves, but when it's that first step, it is a lot of investment. You have to really make it worth it.
Yeah.
Make it show that value, and that part is fun. It's fun seeing that person that was nervous to get a membership, seeing them come in 4 or 5 times a week
Yeah.
consistently for a year. It's like, damn, like, yes, that person's life is now changed,
Hmm.
and it feels good. I also really like working though with people that know I've already had experience, because they kind of push you like to be a better trainer. They kind of
Hmm.
push you because they know what they're doing, but they're just using me as accountability, right? Like,
Hmm.
so you have to be here at this certain time, this certain date, so that it makes them feel like, okay, I can't miss my appointment. So there's a lot of people that just have trainers for that. It's not that they don't know what they're doing, so they need somebody to make sure that they hold them accountable. And those are the fun ones, because let's say you work with them like a week, like, every time, a couple times a week, they'll tell you like, we already did this, or like, we already did this, and you're like, okay, so you're right. So you kind of have to challenge it up a little bit. You got to up it up a little bit. So I like those two, because that not only is it helping them, but they're helping me become a little bit better. Not that when you have a brand new client, it doesn't do the same, but it's just a little bit different. Working with someone brand new, working with someone that's like, like, you got to up it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So it is fun. It is fun because I've learned a lot from both those kind of clients.
Yeah, and I was going to say earlier when you were talking about, you really have this really short window to get people in and to make the best use of their investment in
Yeah.
the gym. And I think that kind of goes back to like attention span in today's world. There
Oh
are
yeah.
so many things that are at our fingertips, ready and willing to distract us, and that finding the motivation to get out of bed and turn off TikTok and get into a gym and ignore your phone for that time, it's tough.
Yeah.
And it goes back to like doing anything in this world, you have to make sure that you catch somebody's attention.
Hmm.
And so I think it's really interesting the perspective that you add on how that can impact somebody in that first time experience in the gym.
Yeah, and that's when you have to really, it's their day, so you
Right.
gotta make it all about them. You gotta make it, yeah, it has to be memorable or they won't
Hmm.
come back.
Right.
And for me that's priority, because you have these people that really want to start and really want to change their lives. And when you just treat them like a, ching, like just like a dollar sign in front of you, it'll never work out your way.
Right.
It'll, so I kind of liked how my old job had this philosophy. Is like, well, I didn't like it at the moment, but I like it now. That the more that I think about it, is you sign someone up, right? They get the membership. If they don't last the entire month, you don't get paid.
Right.
Right. So, and I like that. I like that because your job isn't just to sell it to them and then forget about them. Right. It's their first time coming in. They don't know what they're doing.
Hmm.
So it is to care about them and to kind of guide them throughout that month, and put the resources in front of them that you promised them when you signed
Right.
them up. And in doing that, they become consistent, and doing that, they become motivated. And then it's their job to keep themselves motivated. But you got to do that like first move for them.
In order
And
to reap the reward.
exactly. Yeah.
And I do think it's really interesting that a lot of people, they want to change their lives. They want to be healthy. They want to get moving. But that first day in the gym, they have a bad experience
Mhm.
and it will shut them down for a decade
Yeah.
more. That may be exaggerating,
Oh,
but
yeah.
people, if they don't feel welcomed and loved and comfortable in a place, they won't go back
Mhm.
and they'll just and that's really, we can all feel that on some kind of level within the gym or just in general life. If we don't feel comfortable somewhere, we're not going to go back and feel uncomfortable again. And so even if there are other gyms with other great people out there, they're not going to try it all because of this one bad experience that they had up front. So
Yeah.
it's really important to make that day, not like you said, not only about the money or the investment, but about this impact that it's going to have, the value that we're going to add to your life and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And then, kind of going back to the experienced clients, you said how they help you get better as a trainer and they keep you accountable, you keep them accountable. I also wanted to add, sort of from an outside perspective, how you were saying earlier that you all have different perspectives on how to go about fitness. There's
Mhm.
not a one and done correct answer for everybody, every body type, every, lifestyle. But being a trainer to experienced people in the field or whatever, you can add a different perspective and you
Mhm.
can bring your own, tweak to fitness into their life that may make all the difference in the world,
Yeah. Yeah.
something that they've never considered before.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. It's pretty cool. I mean, like I said, I 4 years ago, I did not see the gym the way that I see it now. Like I look back at how I saw it before, or like the little things I would do to work out, or I would work way. It's like just the little mistakes that I've been doing, either too hard, just and I've learned so many new things, so many different ways to control the body and how to work out throughout so many people that I've met. Because I promise, every single person that I've met, every single coach, every single trainer, every single manager have showed me something in the gym that I did not know from the person before. That's pretty cool because it just kind of shows me that like you never stop learning. And I
Right.
guess what I really like about this industry is that it's not medicine, right? But it is in that health environment. So there's just so many new developments and so many new techniques and so many new things happening every single day. So
Mhm.
it's you meet people and I'm like, whoa, I never thought about doing that
Yeah.
movement this way, and then I do it and I'm like, whoa, you know. So
Yeah.
it's things like that that is really cool learning and being able to work with so many different people that, just like you said, it just learn so many different ways
Mhm.
that people reach the same outcome but in their own way.
Right.
And I think that's pretty cool. I think it's pretty
Yeah.
nice.
Think taking the perspective of just always being a learner throughout your entire life, even if you're experienced and you're at the peak of your career, there's somebody else who you
That's
can learn from, and that just spans the spectrum of industries and services. It doesn't matter if it's health or fitness; it's everywhere. I could learn something from somebody tomorrow who's 10 years younger than me. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't have value. It means that I need to appreciate what I'm getting from that
yeah,
situation.
yeah,
So that's important to note.
agree.
And then,
Always listen, always learn. It's important. Don't think you're better than anybody else or that you know more than anybody else because they will teach you stuff. People will teach you new things all the time.
mhm, yeah. And so, on a maybe not as obvious level, when clients achieve their goals or when they text you and they say, hey, we're working out today, despite the fact that it's a holiday or whatever, those are like tangible things that make you feel good and show you that what you're doing is having an impact. But in what other ways have you seen the impact of what you're doing in your clients' lives? Like, I think about talking to some of the younger professionals that I work with who are really shy and reserved. And as they start working with me, and within a few months, they're taking client calls like nothing. And they've just built this self confidence that they can now present to the rest of the world. So, what other impacts other than like the physical, tangible things? What else do you see?
Yeah, you see a lot of social like like things that have gotten progression too. I mean, once you knock out something that's already hard, like a lot of these people never thought they could walk into a gym. And once they become like, okay, I've been working out for 6 months now, and they become less and less nervous about walking in there. It just
Hmm.
becomes normal to them. So once you do something like that, everything else seems simple too.
Right,
So like if they have other things, like if they're nervous about talking to other people, it's like, okay, I was able to go into the gym, so I can do this too.
right.
So like it's pretty cool. Like I teach group boot camp classes. And there is this one client of ours that she was new to the company. She was new to the gym. She was just new overall,
Hmm.
and it felt really nice because I could tell her first like 5 minutes coming in. My other clients that normally come very often, it's like it's a routine for them. They always casually a little bit late. So she was the first one there, super nervous. Like it was like I'm pretty sure it was her first day at the company. And I could tell from her, she was very stiff and very like tense, and she was kind of like, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna belong here. I start talking to her, and I kind of start breaking the ice a little bit. Starts getting better, and as soon as like three of my other clients come in, they're like, "What's up, Chris?" They start talking about my weekend coming, this and that. I can feel her like body just like, whoa, okay. So like, and when they started, she started realizing that they were talking to me about their day to day. Like they were telling me about what they did in the weekend, their kids. One of them had threw like a birthday party. She got her kid a car, like all this different stuff, right? They're just talking to me. Like I'm talking like this is 5 minutes in because I built
Hmm.
this relationship with them already. So the new, the new client that was there, attendance at first, whatever, she's like, oh, so this is kind of like everybody knows each other. Like you could
Hmm.
feel the happiness. By the end of the class, she was showing me pictures of her kid,
Yeah.
and telling me that this she wanted to get better because her kid is a beast, and all this stuff, right? She wanted to be able to keep up with her child, all these things, and she didn't even want to talk to me when she first walked in.
Right.
So I think that it's not just about what you can do working out or what you can do fitness wise. It's also, like I said, environment. Being where you're at in the environment, and seeing people's change because of the environment that they're in.
Right. Yeah.
So being in the gym, seeing all of that, like how much of a family it is, how much other people are there to help you. not just there to stand and criticize you. Because there's so many people still to this day that are scared to walk into a gym,
Right.
because they don't want to be looked at funny. They don't want to be looked at
Yeah.
because they don't know what they're doing. But most of the time, I promise people are not standing there staring at you. They just want to help.
Right.
And if they're not, then they're not worth your time anyways. You just need to stand there and get better.
Right.
So I guess seeing how people can start off with like fear in their eyes and like really vulnerable about starting like their fitness career, instead of walking out and saying I can't do it and staying stuck how they are for another years or so. They just get started, because once you get started, everything else comes easy. So seeing her or other people's like body language shift so much, even from one workout,
Hmm.
it's pretty cool. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool to see.
And going back to vulnerability, like this is something that I touched on in our first episode, and how I think that being creative is really a very vulnerable task, that you're putting a piece of yourself out there for the whole world to, judge whether it's good or bad. And that goes with fitness as well. You're putting yourself literally into
Yeah,
this environment, and being
it's
very
nerve wracking.
vulnerable. And it can be very
Hmm.
nerve wracking. And um, it's hard to build up that skin and that just confidence that even if they are looking at me, I
Yeah,
don't care.
yeah, it was hard.
But
It's hard.
creating a positive environment and making people feel comfortable is really
Yeah.
impactful up front.
To be honest, I think that's why I do it now that we're talking about it that way. I mean, when I first started, I was super nervous. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
really know what I was doing either. And I would, the good thing is that I had a lot of coworkers at the time that were used to the gym and got me in there and got me showing me how to do things properly and how to work, everything. But I was scared, I was probably the smallest one there. I couldn't bench 5 pounds, and it was hard. It was hard. It was a hard journey. It was hard getting over those nerves of going to the gym.
Mhm.
I think my best friend, he would text me every single day like, "Hey, we're going this time tomorrow. Going this time tomorrow. Going this time tomorrow." And that kind of made me like, have that accountability. Like, okay, I got to wake up tomorrow because I got to meet him there, or I got to
Right.
wake up tomorrow because if not, he's going to show up to my house and get me out anyways.
And it's not just you on the line anymore.
Exactly. No, I can't. He expects me to be there, and he would kind of throw in things like, "Well, bring the pre workout, or bring this, or bring that." So I was like, "No, now I have to really go."
Mhm.
And then I would never really believed that like first thing of okay, you go 30 days, it's gonna get easier. But after the first 30 days, I was waking up myself. Like I didn't want to miss a workout.
Right. Mhm.
So I think I wanted to become that person for everybody else.
Yeah.
Once I was able to do it, I was like, okay, I made myself comfortable. I made myself walking in a place that I was super nervous about and left loving it. How can I help other people feel the same?
Yeah, and it's not just I this is a stupid example, just what popped into my head. It's not like a race car track. You're going to the gym
Hmm.
and making these people comfortable in that environment literally can change their life.
Hmm.
And I want to touch on something that you said earlier. You were talking about how it's not medicine, but you're in that health field. But at the same time, like the gym can be a form of medicine for somebody that, you know,
Therapeutic.
re- well, that, but then they don't necessarily have to use prescriptions.
Mhm.
Like maybe they change their life in such a way where they can avoid
Yeah.
that. Which for me that would be great.
Yeah, it's amazing, and there's a lot of people that do it because of that. There's a
Yeah,
lot of people that do it because of that. They just go into the gym and they found ways to keep their body at such a high and elevated level of of fitness, and of just overall health that they do not require any medicine.
yeah,
And their body's just at such a fast and maintained state. Like I've seen, like I've just seen so much that it's hard for me to have a cap at fitness. Like
yeah,
there's no like I've seen 80-year-olds like just completely demolish what a 20-year-old could do,
right.
and it's insane. It just kind of shows you what
What all
having a
we're
lot of
capable of.
discipline and
Yeah.
motivation will do. Like we had a client that was 70 something ran a marathon. Like it's like
Wow. Yeah.
it's never late. It's never too late.
Mhm.
And yeah, so people do it for so many different stuff, and so many different goals. It's just crazy that once you have that goal, it's what drives you, or whatever it is that's pushing you to do it. As long as it's like a good and worth it kind of thing, it will take you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, something that I kind of touched on in the first episode is this idea of somebody taking like nothing to something and following through and watching yourself achieve this goal of whether the process is long or short, whatever that is. That takes discipline, and it no not only does it take discipline, but it's also very rewarding. And so you in your job, watching your clients, taking them on this journey, it's very fulfilling for you. But then also for themselves, it's very rewarding, and not only just on a general level, but on a scientific level, like working out and being consistent and taking care of yourself makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Like it genuinely makes you feel good. It releases endorphins. It makes you happy, gives you energy,
Hmm.
all of these things. And so it's definitely a really, really impactful space to be in.
Yeah.
And you have the opportunity to influence so many different people
Yeah.
and, probably on levels that you don't even realize.
Hmm. Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. It's you, I don't think you ever finish realizing like the levels
Yeah.
of like help that you are to people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, for me, it is my medicine. It calms me. It keeps me sane. It gives you energy.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I'm like after work, I'm like, do I really want to work out? No, I don't. Do I have to? Yes, I do. So after I work out, I'm like, whoa, like I
Feel
could
10
go through it
times
again.
better. Yeah.
And I leave instead of feeling so exhausted and so like drained and then so like upset because what I've learned happens when I decide not to work out is I'm sitting in my car driving home and I'm like, dang, I should have worked out. Or dang, I should have worked out. And that just consists all the rest of my night and I just regret it until the next day. So it's kind of one of those things like you gotta set up your next day. If you want to
Yeah.
have a better next day, you gotta focus on that day. So after a workout, you leave and you just feel good.
Yeah.
And so it's nice being able to be the reason that other people feel like, okay, I got to go to class today.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to be there today because I know that they leave feeling better than they would have if they didn't come in.
And going back to that piece that we were talking on accountability before, you know, it's really easy to let yourself down. We can give ourselves all of the excuses in the world as to why we're not going to do something because there's nothing really riding on it except for ourselves. But when it comes to a gym partner, your best friend, your trainer, whoever, if you're going to a group class where it's an environment where you all have to work together to get something done, that accountability perspective really adds another level that makes it all that much more impactful, um, and that much more reliable that you're going to do it right. And I think just showing up, even if your only excuse to show up is that somebody else is relying on you to be there, um, it makes a difference in your life at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So having that accountability is really important in maintaining a new lifestyle, but any kind of lifestyle in general.
Yeah, instead of being single, you're a team,
Hmm.
and it's always easier to work in a team
Right.
if you have a good team. But it's always easier, and the goal is always more reachable
Right.
when you have a team because it's not just you, doing it. And it's something that I've learned also. Like I went from a gym where I knew everybody, and I would have a work. I mean, I used to work with one of my best friends, and it was really easy us being able to work our shift and then train together. And they
Hmm.
were some of the best workouts I've ever had because it was like a kind of thing where I wanted to do better than he did, but he was also holding me very accountable, making sure that I was doing it correctly, making sure that I
Hmm.
wasn't just giving it half of what I could really do. And then I've gone from that to also working out on my own, and it just really changes. Um, I honestly am not saying that it's bad to work out on your own, but having that sense of accountability from somebody, or even when I'm working out alone, it's nice being in an environment. People are like, "Hey, you can do more than that," or "Hey,
Yeah.
you didn't put the
Hmm.
clips on the bar," or little things like that, where it's like, "Oh, I didn't realize that," or "Hey, you," I don't know, just little things, right? You could have added another extra couple weights, or you could have done whatever, and just having people being able to correct you and push you to do better.
Yeah.
It's always better than because when you're working out by yourself, you're going to really lower your standards.
Right.
And
You're
that
gonna make an
yeah,
excuse.
like I could really do another 2 sets, but I really want to go home and watch this TV show, so I'm just gonna
Yeah.
go home.
And
And
then just not getting in your own head about something. If
yeah,
somebody's coming up to you and saying you could do more than that, not blowing it off, or if they're correcting you, not taking it to heart.
exactly.
Being in health and fitness, it's all about getting better.
Yeah,
So again, keeping that learning perspective and not being closed minded and thinking that you already know what you need to know.
yeah, because in that case, you're just not gonna get anybody better.
Right.
I mean, there are. I'm not saying to just take bad advice or stuff like that, but when people are really just trying to help you and just trying to correct a certain movement or motivate you to do more, don't take it as oh, they're trying to do better than me. Take it more as
Hmm.
they're trying to get me better.
Right.
essentially, and that's really like the ultimate. Is what you want to do, right? You want to get better. But yeah, I feel like it does help you a lot. It helps you not want to give up as much.
Right.
And seeing somebody do it, you don't know how many times I've had people tell me I can't do that. Or I tell them, okay, you're gonna grab a 15, and they're like, I can't grab 15. Like I only did 12s last week, and it's like, just grab the 15s, and they grab them, they do it. Before you know it, they're done. And they're like, whoa, like I actually did that, and
Right.
and that's like sprinkling a little bit, like you said, that's like that is only in the gym at that moment, but there's so many things throughout the day in our lives, day to day lives, where you're like, well, I can't do that, or I don't think I can do that, but it's like you just haven't tried, right?
Hmm.
So hearing people like tell me that they can't do a certain amount of weight or they can't do a certain exercise, and then they do it, I feel like that's like okay, that not only like makes me feel good, but I know it made them feel good, and
Right.
I know that they'll think about that in the future, like okay, well, when I said I couldn't do this weight, I did it, so maybe just maybe I can do this,
Hmm.
and they just try it. And what's the worst that happens if you try? You don't do it.
Yeah.
um, you might as
Yeah.
well try.
And so to wrap up, this is my final question. And I think that we've kind of covered it in a lot of different ways throughout the course of this conversation. But I want to see if you have like a one single answer for us. And that is apart from the obvious health benefits that we've kind of talked about, how do you think that training and helping people transform their lives makes the world a better place?
Repeat the question.
Yes. So, how do you think that training and helping people transform their lives makes the world a better place?
I think that it makes the world more resilient.
Right.
It makes the people in the world more resilient. I think that the gym isn't just where you go to change the way you look. I think
Mhm.
that's a nice part about it. You start seeing some muscle, you start losing weight, whatever, whatever. But I think that's not the ultimate goal. I think the ultimate goal is doing things that are hard,
Yeah.
and being able to do them because I think
Mhm.
the world gives up a lot when things get hard. A lot of people, you start doing something, it's easy, it's easy, it's easy. You hit something hard, and you're like, okay, I can't do it anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. And going to the gym with a full time job, or going to the gym with kids, or going to a gym with like anything, it's hard. It's time
Yeah.
consuming. It's a difficult. You don't want to go spend 2 hours of your day sweating and working, and when you could be making money, or you could be with your kids, or you could be doing whatever, because it's hard, and people don't like doing the things that are hard. So I think that when you incorporate that in your life, and you do that hard part, just a little bit. There's a lot of other things that are harder, but that part is hard for a lot of people. It makes the rest of life's things that are hard just a little bit less harder, where you have a little bit more motivation to do them because you're not always just saying I can't or
You're
I
not
can't.
always making an
You're not
excuse.
always making
Yeah.
excuses for it. So I think starting with the gym and having a schedule and being able to say, yeah, I work out this many times a day shows discipline. And when you have discipline in one aspect of your life, it helps you have discipline throughout the rest of your
Right.
life.
Yeah.
So I think it just makes the world more disciplined, more
Yeah.
more more reliant, less easy to give up.
Right.
Um, that's what I would say it would help with lives.
Yeah, and I think that we also touched on a lot of the other benefits, just building your self confidence and being vulnerable, and all those different things are obviously
Yeah.
part of that as well.
Hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. That was obviously all of the questions that I had. I mentioned that before. But is there any last minute thing that you'd like to say? Anything else that you'd like to leave with the audience before we sign off?
If you guys haven't been to the gym this year, go to your nearest gym. If you're looking for a sign, this is your sign.
Right.
Um, it's good. It'll help you.
It's never too late
Um,
to start.
it's never too late to start.
Right.
And if you need any help, just let me know.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on your podcast.
Yeah, of course. I think we shared a lot of insights that not only reflect health and fitness, but span the spectrum of just life in general. Not to give up, to be vulnerable, to take on those uncomfortable challenges and things like that. Always have an open mind. I think we hit on a lot of really important things that are just good advice for life in general.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us. And I will see you guys next week.
Peace.
Bye.